Hi, everyone. It's Wednesday, November 23rd. It's great to be with you today. I hope your preparations for Thanksgiving are going well. We continued this last week of our Impact series, our emphasis of Heroes of Faith then and now. And the person that we looked at last Sunday, and we haven't mentioned this week yet, is Esther. A little book in the Old Testament, an obscure book, a few chapters stuck between big books, right? And the story of Esther, the account of Esther, is really amazing. This happened during the time, about 100 years after the children of Israel were all deported to Babylon. Jerusalem was destroyed. After about 70 years, the king was allowed some of them to come back, but most of them didn't come back because they had good lives where they were in this empire. By this time, it was the Persian Empire. And so it takes place in that time. Just real quick to set the stage here, right? Esther is a young lady. Her mom and dad has died. Her uncle has raised her. Her uncle is probably involved in some type of civil service, probably pretty high up. And there's this nobleman of the time that everybody was bowed down to, and he refused because he was a Jew. He believed in the true God. He wouldn't bow down to anybody. So this man, this nobleman, decided not just to have this guy killed, but to kill all the Jews. So that's one part of the story. The other part of the story is that Esther, she's a young lady, right, and very pretty, and the king, he gives this great banquet, and he asks his queen to come out, Vashti to come out, because she was very beautiful, and she refused. And with that, he was frustrated and angry, and so he deposed her as the queen, and then he looked through all the land for another queen. Now, don't think they have these big harems, right? So what they did was find all these young girls, and they this is a very broken world, right? And they prettied them up for a year, whatever they had to do. I don't know what all entailed. And then one by one, they would spend the night with the king, and he would choose one then to be the queen, the head queen. And I know that sounds really gross and broken, but I think that's one of the points here, is that it was a tremendously broken world. The people of God were scattered everywhere, and they didn't want to go home, and the people who were not true believers were in charge of the whole world, and there was this king, and he was the absolute king, and this girl, because she was pretty, she had to do this, and she became the queen then. Well, her uncle told her about what would happen to the Jews, and he said, you need to go in and talk to the king. And it's I want to read part of this, okay? And this was her answer. She said, all the king's officials and the people of the royal provinces know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, the king has but one law, that he or she be put to death. The only exception to this is for the king to extend the gold scepter to him or her and spare his life. But 30 days have passed since I was called to go to the king. So she said, hey, look, this is the law. This is the only law he's got. You approach him without being asked, without being summoned, and you're dead. The only exception is if he happens to offer you the scepter. And he hasn't asked for me in 30 days, baby. You really want me to go try that? It would probably mean my death. So she has to, the challenge here is to lay her life on the line, right? And her uncle says, when Esther's words were reported to Mordecai, that was the uncle, he sent back this answer. And I think there's three things here. Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. Don't think you're going to escape the brokenness. Sometimes I think as Christians, we circle our wagons. We put our trust in all kinds of things. We put our trust in money, put our trust in power. We put our trust in where we live or how we live. We put our trust in the people that we know. We put our trust in so many things, and we say, as long as I'm okay, me and my family, that's my job, just to keep us all safe. The brokenness won't touch me. Brokenness has already touched us. It's called sin. And there's no way to escape the brokenness in our world. And what her uncle is saying to Esther is, hey, it's not going to escape you, and you'll be found out as a Jew, and you'll be killed as well. But whatever brokenness you're talking about, the strategy of saying that somehow we're just going to circle my wagons and I'm going to protect myself and the heck with everyone else. No, it doesn't work. And I think that says something to us. We tend to do that, especially those of us who are strong and maybe have got some means and maybe have sharp minds and all kinds of things, right? And we start being too big for our britches and thinking I take care of myself on my own, right? And the call here to Esther is a call for service, a call to help to lay her life on the line. And then he goes on here. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. God's kingdom will come. His will be done no matter what you do. Now, what does this mean? What are we supposed to learn from this? What was Esther supposed to learn from this? Because Mordecai wanted her to approach the king, to avert this great disaster. And the first thing he says is, you're not going to get away from this disaster. Second thing now he says is, hey, God's going to do his thing. His kingdom's going to come. Do you want to be part of it? Will Esther's actions make a difference or not? Do our actions matter? And the question is absolutely. Well, God's will be done no matter what, absolutely. And we say, wait a minute, that doesn't quite compute. Absolutely. But that's God. He says to us, what we do in the Lord is not ever done in vain. In Corinthians. That's what he says. He says about prayer, he says our prayers are powerful and effective. And yet nothing is done outside of his immutable will. How's that all put together? God puts it together. Here, Esther, what she needs to hear is, hey, God's kingdom's going to come. Do you want to be part of it? I think sometimes we need to hear that. Hey, God's kingdom is going to come. He's going to have his way. Do you want to be part of it? You want in on this game? And then the last thing he says here, and who knows but that you have come to royal position for such a time as this. Here, Esther was this great queen. She had this great opportunity, right? And her uncle is saying, hey, God put you here for this point in time to give you this great opportunity. God has put you in this point in time, in the exact position that you find yourself, and me as well. And we are royalty. We're daughters and sons of the King through faith in Jesus Christ. You know, I realized some time ago that when Jesus talks about the rich people, right? And there's one passage where he says it's easier for a rich person to go through the eye of to get to heaven than for the camel to go through the eye of a needle, right? And so many other things he talks about like that. And I realized that if you look at the whole earth, we're the rich people if we live in America. Yeah, we are the people with great means to be able to do great things in the kingdom. What we tend to do is, first of all, circle our wagons and take care of me. First, me first, me first, right? And we think somehow that will shield us from the brokenness around us. And the second thing we do sometimes is we miss the point that God gives us this opportunity to be part of his mission and that his will be done. It will be done. And the question is, do we want to be a part of it? And this third thing is that he has put you and me in this place, in this moment, with everything he has given us to do great things in him. Esther finally says to him, after she asked for them to pray and fast for her for 3 days, she said, when this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. My life is in God's hands. This is a time of commitment here at St. Matthew. But wherever you're listening to me, think about in your life where God has given you opportunity to step forward and be part of the kingdom work. Think about those places where you tend to use everything you are and have you first, right? Me first to kind of pad my life. And then think about this reality. Think about this reality that God has put each of us here and given us what we have for the good of the kingdom for just this moment. And then step out. Put your life on the line. Jesus said, when you lose your life, you find it. That means something different for each of us. But wrestle with it. See how God is leading you and see what God will do. Would you pray with me? Dearest Jesus, we thank you for this example of Esther. We pray, Lord, that you will guide us into such great decisions that your name is blessed and that we might be blessed in you. Amen. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I'll put something out. You can watch on Friday, whatever. Thanks. Bye-bye.